Okay. Lesson P.4, lines in the planes. Lots of review today, although we are going to throw in the calculator a little bit for something that actually you could do by hand, but it's just kind of our first introduction to the calculator. I will tell you, though, that you won't be quizzed over anything that requires a graphing calculator. Okay? Chapter 1 test, yes, there might be something that requires a graphing calculator there, but not on the quiz, so don't stress about that. Slope. What do you guys remember about slope? Okay, so I heard the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that's where you're subtracting the y's over subtracting the x's. Did either of you say the word phrase? With r's? If you're looking at a graph, you can rise over run. I'll give you credit. You guys said it before I got it fully written there. I think you knew it. Okay, so another phrase for slope is rise over run, up or down, over left or right. And then, I don't know, are you guys familiar with the triangles? Those are delta. That's delta y over delta x. This morning I said maybe chemistry, but then someone said physics. Okay, that means change in y over change in x. Any way you go about it with slope, it's you're subtracting the y's over subtracting the x's. So, example 1, find the slope of the line that goes through the points -1, 2 and 4, -2. Well, set this up for me. And remember, what letter represents slope? That is the lowercase m represents slope. So, what do you guys want to do on top of this slope? Okay, she says 2 minus -2. I'm okay with that. If Sadie tells us 2 minus -2, what must I do on bottom? -1 minus 4. Now, some of you might be fighting that because did some of you go the other way? And that's fine. Meet me in the end here. The key is you have to use the correct numbers, and we have the correct numbers. The y's on top, so you can either do 2 minus -2 or -2 minus 2. Then on bottom, you use the x's in that same order. So mine, what is 2 minus -2? Becomes 2 plus 2, which is 4. -1 minus 4? -5. So my answer became 4 over -5, which is -4/5. If you reverse the ordered pairs, your answer was -4 over +5. Is that equivalent? Yes, we both got -4/5. Okay? The point is, it doesn't matter which pair you call your first pair and which pair you call your second pair. Right. As long as you are consistent and whatever you do with the y's, you do with the x's, you're good. Okay, what about B then? 1, 1 and 3, 4. How do I do slope? Okay. 4 minus 1 over 3 minus 1. And to me, that's the better way to go. 4 minus 1 is 3. 3 minus 1 is 2. Play the what if game with me. What if you went the other way and did 1 minus 4 over 1 minus 3? You got -3 over -2. But what do we know about negative divided by negative? It's positive, so you'd still be able to say +3/2. Okay, nothing too crazy there, right? Okay. The next thing listed here are just some forms of equations of lines. General form might be a new one to you. I don't know. AX plus BY plus C equals 0. I can't remember if that is in Algebra 2 or not. Slope-intercept form. You guys know Y equals MX plus B, right? Where M is your slope and B is your Y-intercept. Good. Point-slope form. I introduced this last year. Some of you liked it, some of you didn't. But I will definitely be using it at times. Y minus Y1 equals M times X minus X1. where m is your slope, and the x1, y1 represents a point. X equals a is a vertical line. That's just saying for a vertical line, it's always x equals a number, because it's x equals where does that vertical line cross the x-axis. For a horizontal line, it's y equals a number. So it's y equals where does that line cross the y-axis. Okay. The other one I'm going to put on here that's not listed, that we do sometimes use, and that is standard form. I don't know, does anyone happen to remember standard form? It's similar to general form, except you move the c. ax plus by equals c. Or did I hear x plus y equals c? Okay, so that's standard form. So that's another good one to know, and that will definitely come up at times too. Okay, example 2. This is pure algebra review here. Use the point-slope form to find an equation of the line that passes through the point -3, -4, and has slope 2. First of all, which form did it say? Point-slope form. I'm going to go ahead and write down point-slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So that's point-slope form. To find an equation of the line that passes through the point -3, -4, and has slope 2. What do you know about that slope of 2? It is your m. So that's going to go in for m. What about that -3 and -4? Yeah, those are my x1 and y1 values. And then just the plain x and y are just your x and y variables, right? Okay, can we plug things in and do it? Y minus, what's y1? -4 equals m, which is 2, times x minus, what's x1? -3. Okay, it said use point-slope form. Doesn't tell us to end anywhere else other than point-slope form, so all I'm going to do is clean this up and leave it. What do we know about y minus -4? Y plus 4 equals 2 times the quantity, x plus 3. I'm going to leave it like that. Okay, that is point-slope form. That wasn't horrible, was it? Okay, example 3. Write an equation of the line with slope 3 that passes through the point -1, 6 using slope-intercept form. What's slope-intercept form? Y equals mx plus b. Now, the key is to end up in y equals mx plus b form. I'm going to use the method of, okay, let's start and end in y equals mx plus b form. But if you recall, we could also use point-slope form to start and end up in slope-intercept form. And when we talk about parallel perpendicular, I'll do that. Okay, which may have to be tomorrow the way time's going, but regardless. Okay, guys, y equals mx plus b. What are we given? A slope of 3, which is my m. And then we're given an ordered pair. So an ordered pair, -1, 6, represent what? X and y. And remember, you can use that x and y then to plug them in and help us find our b. Does that sound familiar? So let's plug them in. Y, we're going to put in 6 equals m, which is 3, times x, which is -1, plus b. Do the math, right? 6 equals -3 plus b. What's b going to be? 9. Add the 3 over, and b is 9. So what form are we writing this final equation in? Slope-intercept, mx plus b. So what do I write? Y equals, what was the x? 3x plus 9. Because they gave us a slope of 3, and we found the b value of 9. Okay. Well, and with mask, it sometimes muffles, and I'm like, did he say 2, or did I just hear him wrong? Okay. If you have your graphing calculator, get it out. And guys, I will always use a new calculator to you. I mean, I'm not going to show you how to add on the calculator, but anything that, is more than just the basics, I'm going to walk you through it. Okay? So, first of all, before we even get to the calculator, in order to use a graphing calculator to graph, you have to have the equation in y equals form. When I go to graph this, it will say y equals, and there'll be a blank, and I have to fill it in that way. So can I graph this equation as is? No. So first things first, before we even go to the calculator, let's solve this for y. Honestly, just like if we were graphing it by hand. How do I solve this for y? Start by, we're working to get 3y by itself, so move 2x. So if I subtract the 2x, I now have 3y equals, you can write 6 minus 2x if you want. I prefer to say negative 2x plus 6 because my brain thinks in mx plus b form at all times. Finish solving this for y, and we're going to divide by 3. And now I have y equals negative 2/3 x plus 2. That's what we're going to graph. Now, I can help with this part more tomorrow too, if we need to. First of all, do you know how to turn your calculator on? Bottom left corner, yes? First thing I'm going to do, right here, the very top row, left corner, it says y equals. So I'm going to hit y equals. It brings me up a screen of y equals buttons. And this is where I'm going to enter my equation. I have no idea what to tell you on the Casio, so I'll have to look at that later if you can. I mean, just keep looking and seeing what you can figure out. But you need a place to type in your equation. Okay, so, and your guys' calculators may be different too, so. Okay, so y equals, I'm going to type in negative 2/3 x plus 2. And then I'll be ready to graph. Now, first of all, that's a negative sign. Where is your negative key? It's the bottom right. Do not use your minus button as a negative sign. The calculator will not like it. It will cause an error, and you will be saying, Mrs. Sargent, this didn't graph. I have an error of y. So it's negative 2/3 x. Do not put a minus sign there. It will not like it. Now, 2/3. So very first graphing, you get to figure out how to do a fraction. I can show you 3 different ways to do this fraction. Easiest way without having to know other steps is to just do it with the division sign, but in order to do that fraction, you would have to use parentheses. And I don't know, some of your calculators, this may be the only option. So one option, and I'll show you the better way here in a moment, is to do parentheses, which is right there above the numbers, 2 divided by 3 in parentheses. This is one option. I'll show you another one in a moment. Now you need an x, yes? The x I want you to use, you see the key directly to the right of the alpha, the green alpha button that says xt theta n? Xt theta n, it's in between alpha and stat. That gives you the variable. Since we're just graphing xy, it gives me an x. And then I type plus 2. And that reads y equals negative 2/3 x plus 2. Okay, that's one option. Now, some of you may not have the option to do a fraction. If you have the option to do a fraction, you'll like that better once you learn it. So, in Y2, I'm going to redo the same equation, but with a fraction bar instead of just the division sign. And what's going to happen on mine is I'm going to graph the same line twice on top of each other. Okay, again, we're going to start with a negative. Where is the negative? Very bottom right, yes? So I'm going to do negative. Now, fraction. Right below the alpha is a math button. Do you see math? If you have math, that brings up a menu. There are lots of things that can be found in the math menu. If I'm trying to create a fraction, I'm not going to use the fraction that's right there. There's also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different menus here. I'm going to arrow right to the menu that says fraction. This is the long way to get to the fraction. I'll show you a shortcut next. And now I can hit enter. See, right now, number 1 is n over d, so that's going to be numerator over denominator. I can hit enter, and notice what it pops up on my calculator. A pre-made fraction. So I can type in 2, arrow down, put 3, and then after that I still need my x. So x t theta n, and then plus 2. That's another way. I typed the same equation. It looks totally different, but 2 different typings, right? Now, I've got one more way to get the fraction.
Well, I have it now, but it doesn't have, like, it has all the other things.
Okay, so we might be able to update your calculator so it does that, and it might not update. I can try it at some point, okay? Okay, I'll have to look at it, okay? Okay, one last thing. Negative again, yes? I love my shortcuts. Okay, you see the alpha button? It's green on mine. See up top, I have F1, F2, F3, F4, F5 on top of my top keys. Those are shortcut menus. If I hit alpha and then F1, it pops up a little shortcut menu that are my fractions. If I hit enter, it gives me the fraction again. And I can do the same thing. Now, I've just typed in the same line 3 times. You didn't have to do that. I'm just trying to show you different options. Mine's going to graph the same line 3 times. How do we see the graph? See this top right key that says graph? You hit graph. And it should be graphing the line that we just typed in. If your calculator is being cooperative. Okay? Yes. I did alpha, and then the y equals button has an F1 beside it. That brings up a shortcut menu. If your calculator will do that. 50-50 chance there at that point. Okay. Yeah, I say it might not. If it didn't like the other thing, it might not like that. Okay, guys. You know, that's the basics. Now, if you did exactly mine, like what I did, and your screen is looking different, okay, mine is on a standard 10 by 10 screen. So it counts left, right 10, right 10, up and down 10. Okay? If yours looks more zoomed in or zoomed out, and we'll talk more about zooming next week, see the zoom button there? If I click zoom, and then number 6 is standard. So if you're trying to get to just a standard screen in case it wasn't there, you can arrow down to 6 or just hit 6 and hit enter. Anyways, if you just need to go back to your graph, just hit graph and it'll take you back there. Now, one thing before I walk away here to help people. If the homework directions say draw the graph or graph using a graphing calculator, should I just leave my page blank? I graphed it on the calculator, now I'm done. What should you do on your paper? Sketch the graph, okay? And you can look and you can see that it's going through 2 on the y-axis. If you look, you can see that it's going through 3 on the x-axis. And so you can sketch that on your paper, okay? does.
Before it was all kinds of stuff, and I think because my mom had before, I think it just had all of her stuff.
But try it's not an operating like out there and see if it'll update to a better operating system. It'd be great if it does. I mean, you know, just be honest. That's, you know.
I appreciate it. My mom, she's like, here, you can use it, but you might have to YouTube out to figure it out. And I was like, is there a thing?
I'll have to look and see.
I know I had to look at a lot of videos to figure out how to use it.
Because I'm not going to have time right now, but there's a way to connect them and see what versions have, but I don't remember. Remember where to go. See what version.
All I could figure out how to do it before it was turn it on and off. The right kind of
I mean, that's what it's yeah, because that's the only time I have to mess with it. We get all of our calculators set.
$120. You know, if I was 49.
How much I was? Free, my mom used it.
I'll have to work.
I know.
I'll have to work on your number.
But
Okay, guys.
on the downside, I don't use it.
Hey, listen up. I do want you to do that homework tonight. I realize we haven't done the back examples. Now, real quick, and I know I'm not going to have time to talk you all the way through this or anything, but parallel perpendicular lines. I'm not worried about example 7, but example 5 and 6, I kind of regret not getting those. Parallel lines. What do you remember about parallel lines? They have the same slope. So if you're trying to write something parallel to a line, use the slope of that line. Perpendicular lines. What do we know about their slopes? Opposite reciprocals. So just like we were writing lines on the front side there, you're going to do the same thing. Here you're going to use this point, and you're going to have to find the slope of this line. How do you find the slope of a line? Solve for y? Yes? In other words, you're going to want to get it y equals mx plus b. Once you have that slope, you can use that slope if it's parallel. If you need perpendicular, you take that slope and what? Flip it and change the sign. Okay, your homework. Make sure you write it down and do it. I will help with parallel perpendicular, but try everything in the homework, okay? Page 36. Numbers 3 through 6. 11 through 14. 21 through 30. 42. 44. And 45. And I don't remember what they are, but 42 and 44, I have no graphs written down. Okay? Try it.